this episode we're going to do steaks. Now these steaks, I will give a disclaimer, if you're a huge steak snob, this probably isn't the video for you. I prefer my steak well marinated. I like to have all the juices kind of come out of that steak as I cut into it, dip my fries in it. So if you're looking for your regular just salt and pepper dusted steak recipe, this is not for you. But anyway, I'm just going to start with 2 cuts of steak. Basically, I go with either ribeye or New York strip. Those are my favorites. I go with a little bit of marbling for flavor, but I try to keep it as lean as possible. The marinade is really just going to be low sodium Dales and Zesty Italian salad dressing. Basically splitting it half and half to cut a lot of that saltiness out. And then we're going to do a dry rub with Montreal steak seasoning before we put it on the grill. So, tools I'm using, just a meat tenderizer. I like to puncture the steak before I pour the marinade on top, just to make sure that all those flavors seep deep into the meat. And then I use a marinating bin. It's pressurized, causes a vacuum seal, and helps expedite the marination. Usually I like to marinate it overnight, but sometimes, like today where I don't have as much time, that'll really help speed up the marination. So I'm going to marinate these for about 7 hours. So anyway, I'm going to puncture the meat with the tenderizer, mix my marinade, and let this sit. So you'll see that I now have my steaks in the marinating thing. So basically I'm taking this tenderizer, and really I'm just going to kind of go all over it and just kind of push in. And then you'll see I'll pull it out, and it's kind of stuck right now. But basically I'm just going to go in and do that to the entire steak and then pour my marinade on. So now you'll see that the steaks are all nice and punctured. So we're going to pour about half of this low sodium Dales into here, just kind of all over the steak. And then we're going to cut that with this Zesty Italian salad dressing, about half of this bottle. And then we're going to give a light dusting of the McCormick's Montreal steak seasoning. So we're going to kind of mix this around a little bit. We're going to flip these steaks, and then we're going to repeat the same process. Okay, so we've punctured the other side of the steaks after flipping them, and now we're going to pour the rest of the Dales bottle, the rest of the Zesty Italian bottle, and we're going to do a dust of the McCormick. So we're going to do that real quick and just make sure that the entire steaks are completely covered. So there's the last of that Dales. And we're going to come in here with the salad dressing. Okay, just like so. And we're going to get a little bit more of this McCormick's. And that's it. So I'm just going to kind of mix this around a little bit and make sure that the salad dressing and the Dales start talking. But we're going to close up this marination dish, and we're going to vacuum it out and put it in the refrigerator for probably about 5 hours. And then 2 hours before your cooking time that you're planning on cooking, we're going to pull these out, and we're actually going to do a dry dusting of the McCormick seasoning and let them warm to room temperature sitting out. So next thing you see us, we'll be pulling them out of the fridge and letting them rest. So the steaks have been marinating for about 5 hours, so we're about 2 hours away from the starting cook time. So we're going to go ahead and pull these out and let them sit to get to room temperature. The reason why you do that really is it cooks more evenly, especially if you want to sear the outsides. Definitely, you can do that, and the inside won't be bleeding. It'll still be pink, but won't be bleeding. So we're going to pull these right now. We're going to transfer them over, and then we're going to basically dust each side of those steaks with our steak seasoning, just to kind of add that saltiness on the outside to really lock in that moisture on the inside of the meat. So you'll notice that the marinade, the Italian seasoning dressing, really kind of made that marinade a little bit more watery, so it's not as thick as your typical Dales. So we're going to liberally just dust the outside right here. And We're going to take it, we're going to flip each steak. And we're going to repeat. So like I said, you're going to leave these guys sitting here for about 2 hours, and then once the grill's ready, be ready to throw them on. So while the steaks are warming up to room temperature, I went ahead and set up the grill. Just got the fire started with the fire starter for about 6 minutes. Put about 5 scoops of charcoal in. Just going to let this run hot with the dampers wide open for probably about 30 minutes or so. I want to try to get it up to 500. You'll notice I have the fire ring in, the grate raised up, so no direct flame. I also have a Mangrate. I just recommend it for better searing. You'll notice it's pretty dirty, but I'll give it a good scrub once it gets heated up. But it really helps get those restaurant-style chars on it. But you don't necessarily need that. You could just cook it on the grate itself. But anyway, we're going to close this up. You'll see the dampers are wide open. And we're going to let this thing sit here for about 30 minutes, and we're going to soak some Jack Daniel's wood chips to give that bourbon smoke flavor to our steaks once they get on there. So while the grill's going, I just soaked some Jack Daniel's wood chips. You're going to want these to soak for at least 30 minutes before you put them on the fire so they get that slow smoke. I recommend the Jack Daniel's wood chips because it really brings out that bourbon flavor on the steaks, really complements it well, but you could also use mesquite, just any type of wood chip that gives a heavier smoke flavor. So now we have the grill warming up to start cooking. You'll notice the smoke coming off the Mangrate. So we're just going to dump these soaked wood chips in. We're going to work them within the grooves quickly just to add that smoky flavor before we put our steaks on. Usually I like to take the grate off before I do this, but this Mangrate weighs a lot, so it makes it kind of difficult, so just have to bear with me while I do this. So now the majority of the chips are in there. I'm going to take our steak, and we're really going to do about 3 to 4 minutes per side with only flipping once. It depends on the temperature of the grill, and the grill's running a little bit colder than I prefer, so we're just going to put these guys on a little bit longer than normal. And we're going to set them about 3 to 4 minutes per side. Alright, so it's been about 4.5 minutes. We're going to go ahead and flip these. So you'll see they're starting to turn a little bit more gray. They're starting to redden up from that smoke, so you're starting to get a little bit of that smoke flavor on there. You'll notice the meat is super tender, so we're going to flip it. You'll see the grill marks right there. Really strong grill marks. We're going to give it another 4 minutes on this next side. And the important thing is once you take these off, you're going to let them sit so they continue to cook from the inside for a little bit longer. So we'll put these on for about another 3 or 4 minutes and we should be good to go. Alright, so it's been about 4.5 minutes. We're going to give a quick check to make sure these guys are done. We don't want to flip them again if they're not, because you really only want to do one flip per side. That's how you really lock in those juices. So you'll see we got some charring, some redness. I'd say these are probably pretty done. Let me check the other one. Yeah, I'd say all around these are looking pretty done. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to pull these off, and we're going to let them sit for a little bit, and we'll let them cook from the inside. So now that we pulled these, you'll notice that I'm not going to cut into them yet. You really want to let them sit for about 5 to 6 minutes, just so that the juices continue to cook from the inside. So we're going to leave it sitting here, and then we'll cut into it. So after letting these sit for about 5 minutes, we cut into them just to make sure that they are done, and you'll notice what you'll see here is you'll see that you have a layer of gray here, followed by some pink. The reason why we let it sit was so that the heat from the outside would continue to cook the inside. When we pulled it, it probably was pretty rare here, but now it's a nice kind of medium finish. So this steak should be real moist and definitely enjoyable. this tonight with some sweet potato fries. You'll see as I cut into this piece is even better than the one that we tested. So you'll see it's kind of got that real pink color in the middle. Perfect, perfect medium done, medium to medium rare. And it's delicious. Enjoy.